food is everything that your body needs to exist.
It all begins with the kind of food you eat?
Absolutely. So there is just no doubt today that food has that power, and that's why look at this industry with food.
Why do you think food has been taken for granted like that?
Their approach towards food is extremely religious. Let's give an example. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't eat non-veg. Thursday, Friday, I eat. But Saturday, Sunday, I can't because I'm at home or घर पे non-veg नहीं आता.
What I've noticed is she would go to two different nutritionists.
Yeah.
And she would get completely different diets.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Biggest confusion and the complication comes from people who have not studied that textbook. It's that influencer who's coming and talking.
So what are some mistakes that parents do?
We are teaching mothers how they need to feed their active children. And that's a very similar question you're asking me. How do you educate these parents? Because parent education is where everything goes wrong.
Let's say that you get unlimited funding to solve one health problem for humanity. What would it be? Every single day, we make hundreds of decisions. What to wear, where to go, what to do. But out of all these choices, the one that most directly dictates how you think, feel, and heal is what you choose to eat. Joining us today is nutritionist Kinita Kadakia Patel, one of India's most respected sports nutritionists and a metabolic reset and body transformation specialist. She is popularly known as the official nutritionist of Mumbai Indians IPL cricket team and the go-to person for most Bollywood celebrities. Having worked with elite athletes, Bollywood and TV celebrities, and top business icons, it is a symbol of her success and stability in the field. She spent almost 2 decades helping high performers unlock their potential through science-based nutrition expertise, sustainable strategies to optimize metabolism, performance, weight loss management, and long-term health. Today, through an in-depth conversation with Kinita, I hope to bring awareness on optimizing health, human performance, and future of nutrition. Kinita, welcome to Face to Face. I'm very excited to have her here. So, Kinita, let's start with first principles thinking.
Right.
Tell me what actually happens when you consume food.
Okay.
So, what does food generally do to your body?
So let's give it a more non-scientific answer. I think that would something apply to your crowd as well. Food is the information that your body processes to create a certain kind of an infrastructure. Okay.
All right.
So anything and everything that you eat is information that your body is taking, and it's going to decide what it needs to do with this information and then place it in building what it needs to build. For example, food is predominantly carbohydrate, protein, fat as nutrients. Okay. Your body processes once you consume carbohydrate, protein, and fat, and then it decides where do I need this to build what. Fat will be needed to build hormones, it will be needed to build certain organs, it is needed for layering under your skin. Carbohydrate will be needed for energy, it is building your entire glycogen in your muscles, it is giving your liver substantial amount of glycogen for its activity. And then you have protein, which is basically making the building block of your entire body. So it's the food is what your body recognizes as information in order to create a human infrastructure. And that's exactly what food does in your body, in simple words.
So the body is sort of a mechanism that is our infrastructure that decides what happens to the food after you've consumed it.
Like a bioreactor. It reacts to what you eat and then it creates what we see as human beings internally at different levels of biochemistry.
Okay.
But to be honest, it's not as complicated as I'm making it sound. It's just food is everything that your body needs to exist. And it can be fuel, it can be performance, it can be recovery, it can be power, it can be strength, it can be longevity. Everything comes from food.
Okay. Okay, so basically, whatever any person wants in life, be it, as you mentioned, focus, productivity, longevity, wellness, like a healthier life, it all begins with the kind of food you eat.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no second thought in saying you are what you eat. And what you eat is going to decide what you will be eventually. So, if you are a high performance athlete, your food makes you a high performance athlete. It gives you that edge that someone who does not eat correct gets. If you are someone who is looking at a better skin, you're looking at longevity, you're looking at focus, mind, and everything. You tell me, you pinpoint any one reaction that you want in long term, and I can tell you a food that can give it to
Enable
you,
that.
can enable that and give you that in the long term. So there is just no doubt today that food has that power, and that's why look at this industry with food, right? We are trying to provide niche foods which are anything from longevity based supplements to making macro muscle, right? So everywhere you're talking only about food, and all other systems are just there to support. Your ice baths are recovery external supports. Your other environmental changes you're making, whether you're using electronic gun or whether you're trying to get your hair done, at the end of the day, every therapist, every treatment is going to tell you, what are you eating? Food.
And that's been taken for granted for a long time, especially in countries like India,
Absolutely.
where the diabetes and everything is gone for a toss. So why do you think food has been taken for granted like that?
You know, to be honest, India is a very religion, tradition driven community with food, and very, very vast community. Their approach towards food is extremely religious. Let's give an example. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't eat non-veg. Thursday, Friday, I eat, but Saturday, Sunday, I can't because I'm at home or घर पे non-veg नहीं आता है. You know what I mean? So it's just,
These
it's
are the
very
practical
religious.
reasons
Yeah,
why.
there are practical religious reasons, and there are traditions. Like there are months in the year you do not eat, then you're fasting or you're doing
Navratri.
things, Navratri, things like that. So India is very driven with that, and somewhere because of that, the education to nutrition becomes challenging.
Okay.
But we have come a long way, King. I've been into this for couple of decades now, and I'm doing what I'm doing with my clientele, and trust me, I take a lot of pride in taking that. I educate every single person who walks into that cabin of mine.
Right.
My goal is to educate. My goal is to tell them, I totally get it that you're religious, you're traditional in whichever sense, but whatever you have been doing for so many years, we got to flip it. And science has come till that point.
Must
So
be a great learning curve for them also to
it's
accept that.
trust me, it's life changing. Like people who have accepted the change, they have reached a point where, you know, they start with weight loss. I want to do some weight loss for a
That's
few
where it usually
weeks.
starts
Yeah,
from.
right. Few weeks, few months. And then I've caught the pulse of my client as well. And then I start changing my language, and I'm like, let's start looking at composition. Why not let's work on fat loss, you know? And then I handhold them for a few more months and tell them, let's look at muscle gain. And in no time, those people are like, Kinita, let's make some muscle, you know, I want to get like
They
metabolically
start
fit.
speaking the language you want them to speak.
And it's my journey with them as
Right.
well. It's the trust that I have in my own self and the confidence that the client shows me eventually. It's absolutely liberating. It is amazing when you handhold someone like this till the end.
That gets me to the question. Sometimes nutrition and diets can be a little confusing. Why? Because so my mom, she's into wellness, and she's been teaching people how to do meditate and do
nice.
breath work and stuff like that for the last 2
Brilliant.
decades.
Oh, wow.
And she's done some nutrition course as well, but she always goes with an expert's mind, or
Right.
someone who's more experienced. But what I've noticed is she would go to two different nutritionists,
Yeah.
and she would get completely different diets.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Very interesting question. Okay, so let's answer that. Take one individual. Okay, you're going, say, for instance, you are perimenopausing. You've given a female example, so I'm going to go with a female problem. Say they are going through perimenopause and they have multiple symptoms. I'm feeling low on energy. I want to lose weight. I have
Brain fog.
ridiculous, brain fog, mood swings. I'm waking up every day at 2, 3 in the morning. Now, whichever nutritionist you went to, trust me, we study the same textbook. We don't have different textbooks in nutrition. We have the same textbook, it's the same Bible. It's how we approach a certain case and what we prioritize as a nutritionist in that case. Okay. So, for me, what will be my priority with your mother who is probably perimenopausing and with all the symptoms that she gave me, I would probably feel if I get her to get her focus and her mood and hormones in place, everything else she might be able to do better.
Okay.
So my approach with her diet would be very different. It would be more cognitive in nature. My training approach for her would be, let's do more cognitive training and let me support you with certain foods and supplements that working with your mind. You might have another nutritionist whose approach would be completely different and would look at that case and say, you know what, ma'am, I think you need to lose weight first. And her entire approach would go into her or him would be calorie deficit, would be reducing food, would be high protein. So how we are approaching is going to be very different.
And that's subjective.
Very subjective. And that should be the art of nutrition, right? It cannot be one size fits all. I can't give the same diet to everyone who comes to me for the same problem.
Right.
It cannot. That's why we approach it very differently. We work on them very differently, and then we progress with them very differently. But the textbook is the same.
Right. So the fundamentals
are the same. We are studying the same science, just that we approach the science differently. The problem today is, you know what? The biggest confusion and the complication comes from people who have not studied that textbook. It's that influencer who's coming and talking and saying, you have brain fog, this is what you need to take, let's start.
There's just too much information.
That information which is not validated. Okay, you heard that. Go to your nutritionist who studied for 8 years in this and been doing for 20 years what she is doing and get it validated.
Right.
By all means, read it. Go for it. See these reels and videos, and maybe even other nutritionists who are not certified are running a business today. You want to go to them, but do not put your health at risk because someone who's
it's a lot
at stake. Someone who's not qualified enough is telling you to take something. You will realize that's what backfires, honestly. King.
But then how do you know what's right? Maybe what's right for you might not be right for some other person.
It might not.
But how do you know what would work for you? Or is it just trial and error? You go to one nutritionist or go to another nutritionist?
You see, first of all, there is information that is there out there which is free and not validated. And there is nothing wrong once in your life to go to somebody and get your requirement validated. What is wrong if King comes to a nutritionist and goes to her for 3 months and says, I have all this information in front of me, but this is my profile, this is what I want to do, and I have confusion. Let me just learn with you for 3 months. Tell me what's for my body. Learn for 3 months, get it validated, understand it, and then you are on your own for a decade.
Who do you go to?
To any validated nutritionist. Okay. If you have a fracture, you will find 5 orthopedics and you go to one, no? Are you going to go to the first influencer who came and said, I had an injury and I did this, you should use this equipment? You're not going to. You will do your study, you will do your research, because before somebody cuts you open on that bone, then why not for your health?
Right.
Why not find the credential of every nutritionist that you're going to? Is she a master's or is she just a certified? Is she qualified enough or does she just have a 3-month course? Is she someone who's just studied off the net and done a diploma, or is she someone who's actually has that medical validation behind her?
Right.
And nutrition is a paramedical field. So when we learn what we learn for 5 to 8 years, we are practically learning the disease and the science behind it.
Right. It's not just...
No, it's not just doing, a 10-page summary of something. So I can actually talk a very similar language to a diabetologist or an orthopedic, but I'm just not qualified enough to tell you what to do. That qualification needs to be found.
And that verification can be done online
so easily. Today, so easy. Ask, na? When you're going to someone, you're inquiring on that person, call and check.
And if they're taking offense on that, it's probably a red
It's
flag.
exactly. There you said it.
So we spoke about the same person going to two different nutritionists and getting completely different diets.
Correct.
Right. What about the same diet for two completely different people?
Yeah.
Can one really benefit from it and the other one be a disaster?
Yes, it can, right?
Okay.
Because,
Why is that?
like I said, it's all about individualization of every person. Okay, you are genetically made differently because you are just two different bodies. You could have someone exactly like you standing beside you, same height, same weight, all physical features, everything the same. You all might even have the same targets and same goals. But let's say I make this one high protein diet with approximately 150 grams of protein in it, going, say, at the rate of 1.5 grams per kg body weight, and I give it to both of y'all. And there is a very, very high possibility that one diet for two people who are exactly the same externally, you, for instance, got a massive gut discomfort with it, and the other one, in a matter of 4 weeks, made 3% more muscle mass, right? Because it's just how you respond to food in your body is so, so unique. And that is why diets have to be individualized. I cannot, and you know what, honestly, if it was that easy, I should just have 10 diets ready and every
And
person who comes.
plug and play.
अच्छा आप ये कर लो.
Right, right.
So it's not that kind of a
So
ready
do you have
cyclostyle.
like tests done, or like
Yes.
how do you understand what would work for this particular person then?
So I'll tell you about my practice and what I do, because this is what I have realized over the last 20 years. Also, I have evolved a lot with nutrition. I personally feel it's a field in science that you cannot just continue to follow what you were following like a decade
It's
ago.
ever evolving.
It's ever evolving, and one needs to keep up with it. So I have, when I started, I was very, very I wouldn't start a session with a client if they had not done their basic pathology. That means their blood work. Basic blood work is mandatory. That clinical assessment, I do not go beyond that. But over the last decade, that language has also changed. Clinical assessment mandatory. Okay, beyond that, let's check some fitness testing. Okay, you know what? We need to check your body composition. Okay, you know what? I even need to check these few vitamins. So there are so many other things that I do as testing before I decide to take up a client. And they might all have different testing requirements. Like for my athlete, I would do everything from sweat analysis to VO2 max to pulmonary functioning. But for someone who's into wellness and stuff, I would do something more which is more wellness oriented. Let me see what is your composition. Let me see what are your vitamin profiling over and above your clinical assessment.
So it's not just that these assessments are necessary, it also differs from person to person.
Absolutely. Everything is unique, King. Let me put it to you very simply. If you are going to some nutritionist or dietitian and you realize that the diets are similar, then they are probably not investing in you enough. You are such a unique body. I have like a set of almost 30 to 40 questions that I ask a client in my orientation sessions before I get that client to join. So there is that much uniqueness. I'm not just asking what you eat in the day. I'm asking the whole shenanigan around it. Not only what you eat, how you sleep, how you poop, how you drink water, how you are recovering, how much you work out. There's so much individualization. And somewhere that one question will be different between two people. And
That would determine.
that will determine what diet you have to make to this unique person.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned that nutrition and diet differ from person to person. Does it also differ from across the life? So let's say it would differ from what you have when you're a child to your adulthood to your old age. You also mentioned your menstrual cycles, premenopause, postmenopause.
Yeah.
How does that work? And give me like a gist of the whole life cycle of a person.
Sure. So what happens is a life cycle has different stages which have different demands.
Okay.
The body has a very different demand in every life cycle. If I had to begin with, say, for the first 11 to 15 years, you are looking at growth. That means you are looking at bone structure, your skeletal structure, muscular structure. You are trying to get your body in its right adolescent phase. So this phase, the dietary requirement is very different. It is more from a growth perspective. Once you are an adolescent, you are trying to deal with more cognitive perspective. That means you're trying to give foods that help you more with focus, to develop your personality, to get you to concentrate, to get you that cognition in place.
Okay.
In between somewhere here, you could honestly have someone who's very active. You could have someone from the age of 2 to 18 who are into active sports. Then you deal with them very differently. But let's just look at a simple scenario. Of course, you might even have someone who's become a childhood obesity. So then you deal with them also differently. But I'm not giving you so many breakups here.
Right.
But fundamentally,
Generals, yeah.
generally, up till the age of 12, it's growth, development, height, skeletal muscle, muscular structure, then a lot of cognition focus, also puberty focus for women. So a lot of vitamin profiling is important in this phase, so you don't go into deficiencies. And after that, honestly, you're just dealing with stress, jobs, life
Like adult
in general,
life.
that adulthood life up till the age of 35. It stays pretty much similar for men up till 45, 50, I would say. But for women, somewhere post 35, then this changes because then it becomes very hormonally driven.
Okay.
And you are dealing with perimenopause, menopause. You are dealing with a lot of those things between 35 to 50. For men, however, you are dealing more with composition. You see a sharp drop in testosterone, so you need to make sure that they're still doing enough muscle making exercises, or injuries are very high. With stress related work, any of these genders could be more susceptible to a lot of metabolic diseases. So I'm a metabolic reset and a body transformation specialist. So I see a lot of these cases between 35 to 50 where conditioning these people's body types and transforming them by resetting their metabolism. And what I mean by that is getting them to figure where they are lacking, whether is it clinical or whether it is their lifestyle, and then make a complete change in that. It's not just the diet. Okay, so are we dealing with sleep? Are we dealing with you being sedentary? Are we doing enough muscle work? Are we doing the right kind of muscle work? What kind of training you qualify for, and what is the complementary nutrition? So a lot of those things get covered in that life cycle. After 50, 55, I think the focus just needs to be in retaining whatever you have made in the last 50 years. Because your body's ability to synthesize anything, whether it is making muscle, making hormones, making new hair, or anything, is very, very poor. And that's why you need to get a lot of foundation correct up till the age of 50. And then you just stay there for longevity.
Right. Interesting. So let's talk about two main things. One is children. I think a lot of children are being told today, or parents are being told today, that if you don't, if the child is healthy externally, why to give them supplements or nutrients and stuff like that? So, what are some mistakes that parents do when it comes to the nutrition for their children? Because that is, as you mentioned, very important time for their cognition, for their growth, for how they look, and how they will take up the world in their
Yeah.
adult life.
This is such a valid question. In fact, I recently had a workshop that I did where I do these workshops called Inside the Expert Mind, right? So it's called Engage, Educate, Empower. So take a group of people, curate these workshops based on the topics they want to hear, and make it extremely engaging. And the last topic that I did was it was called Nutrition Playbook. It was a mom's guide for an active child. So that's exactly what this workshop was about. We are teaching mothers how they need to feed their active children. And that's a very similar question you're asking me. How do you educate these parents? Because parent education is where everything goes wrong. And we, like I mentioned previously also, we are in a country which is very religiously and traditionally driven. So there are certain foods, say when you're introducing, even at the age of 7th month, 8th month, it's very sugar dependent. It's very, नहीं ये तो होता ही है, नहीं घी तो देना ही है, नहीं शक्कर तो डालना ही है.
ये तो बच्चे के लिए अच्छा है.
बच्चे के लिए अच्छा है. This mindset is where the parental education today is needed, and it's coming. Honestly, it's coming. Sadly, at the same time, there is an other group of parenting that does not believe in any of these things, and the kids suffer with either obesity or juvenile diabetes or young age insulin resistance, and an absolute metabolic disaster comes there as well. So the biggest mistake I think parents are making today is not educating themselves. I think they are just going by historically ये होता था हम भी यही करेंगे like that. But today it's the need of the hour. If the parent gets it right, the kid is going to get it right.
Right.
Eventually.
It's not even like the kid is not even taking a decision for themselves.
Exactly.
But their future depends on
Precisely,
that decision.
right? So if you have never introduced a burger to your child, how is your child going to know what's a burger? If you've never introduced that cake, how is your child going to know what's a cake? Right? So it is just so funny that parents today say that my child loves to eat out. From Jaipur, he travels to Bombay to eat that pizza. But वो सिखाया किसने? वो जयपुर से बॉम्बे आके आपको ये रेस्टोरेंट की जो पाव भाजी खानी थी उसको who introduced? He didn't take a flight. You introduced him. You encouraged him. And
You
now
influenced the decision.
You influenced him. The same way you would not have. Yes, there is a resistance, there is a peer pressure, and every single parent needs to be aware of this peer pressure and resistance. So I'm not saying don't offer it to your child. Again, I'll repeat this word, educate your child.
And be mindful.
Be mindful, explain to them, tell them what is what, and then let them take a decision.
Okay.
I'll give you a very off the camera example. Our daughter, she's 11 years old. She hates cutting a birthday cake on her birthday because she hates sweet. She doesn't like sugar. She doesn't cut a birthday cake. My best friend, she bakes. She will call and tell her, you make a sugar-free cake for me. And she only cuts it for the friends who have come for the party. In fact, the last birthday party, she cut chips, a packet of chips. She said, I just don't want to cut cake. So that's just me educating her, but decision was hers. I never told her no cutting cakes on birthday.
Yeah, because if you would have said that don't eat cake,
yes.
she would have.
The day she would have become a slightly teen rebelling person, she would have said, you know what, I'm going to eat this. But when you educate in the right direction, you want to eat, you eat, but this is what it's going to do to you. You decide.
Right.
I think that it's sad. Parent education is more important than the kid.
Right.
So they can,
because that's how they will pass on the education to the kid.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So we briefly touched upon this. You said, there are different priorities when it comes to health. So let's make a hierarchy of health, right? Let's say if we have to put one thing on one level and the pyramid is such, there are some things at the top and there are some things which are less important which are at the bottom. So we could have things like sleep, nutrition, exercise, XYZ. What would you say is at the top of the pyramid and what would you say are a little less important which is at the bottom of the pyramid?
So, lovely question. My company is called Meal Pyramid Nutrition and Wellness. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
so it's called Meal Pyramid. Okay. So when you say top of the pyramid is not priority, bottom of the pyramid is priority. That means what you are putting as the maximum chunk, the important part comes at the bottom, not at the top. The least important thing goes on the top.
Okay.
Right? So the pyramid for me was about 3 corners. Okay. So they are the 3 pillars of nutrition, exercise, rest and recovery. So when 22 years back I made this company, this was my concept about a pyramid, and that's why I call it
that's
pyramid.
still going.
That's still going. It's still meal pyramid, and these 3 concepts, of course, there are more concepts in the middle, but my foundation has always been nutrition, training, rest, recovery. So rest recovery is very, very important. It's one point, and this tips your entire pyramid.
Okay.
Right? So your bottom of the pyramid is what creates the foundation for the rest of the pyramid. So if somebody's nutrition is not right, अब sleep correct करके क्या करोगे?
Right.
You need to get that pyramid foundation absolutely right. So your bottom of your maximum chunk of your pyramid goes into nutrition and training and the foundation of it. Not going into specific kind of training, not going into, okay, you know what, I'm just going to do 5 times a week of Pilates and once a week EMS. No, your foundation is built with macro training. Your foundation is built from getting that right kind of strength, your weights, getting your form right, correcting those things before you go into the minute and most specific micro training for your body type. So foundation is there. Like even in nutrition today, a lot of people make a mistake. Carb, protein, fat is not balanced, but they have started NADs and NMN for longevity.
Okay. I don't know.
So they are longevity supplements which are high end.
Okay.
But where is my basic?
Okay.
Where is my carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamins, minerals, hydration? So this makes your pyramid at the
Right.
bottom, right? Nutrition and training is that key important part. I think next for me would definitely be an influence, your self motivation and self influence that you can have on accountability, on sustainability, on your own metabolic ability to understand your body. So I think this would be self intervention for me, because if
Okay.
you don't have accountability, if you don't have access to your own internal self, you'll never be able to hold that foundation under you or progress beyond you above. Because the tip is not irrelevant, the tip is your last end of progression. So your tip is where any micro activities comes into play, whether it is correcting your cognitive supplement, whether it is correcting your skin pigmentation, whether it is talking about IV infusions, whether it is talking about red light therapy, whether it is talking about micro muscle training of conditioning, or things like that, that makes my tip. But my nutrition foundation and training followed by self education, self accountability, self motivation. And if I get these two right, my tip is sorted.
Most of the wellness today, a lot of wellness retreat that I've seen, and are focusing on that tip that you're talking about.
Correct. Without correcting this. But if you have mastered these two levels, then that tip will be something that you will love. You're trying to go up to down. You're trying to correct sleep and forgetting nutrition. How are you going to function? If your nutrition is not right, you're not going to sleep right. If you are magnesium deficit, you're not going to sleep right. If your protein is low, you're not going to recover in your sleep. If your carbs is not enough, you are going to wake up at 1, 2, hungry, starving, opening that refrigerator. So get my foundation right. Know that you have got that foundation right. Be accountable and self-motivated for it. And then you go into whichever retreat in the world you want to fine-tune your personal requirement.
So that 90 to 100% is what happens at those retreats, but from 0 to 90 is all these things.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Talking about supplements.
Yeah.
So let's say I can only afford 3 supplements, right?
Bas?
Bus.
Yeah.
So, what are these 3 supplements that you can take, that everyone can take, irrespective of? And I'm taking no supplements, by the way.
See, first you're asking me this super generic question.
Yeah.
While I love to customize everything, and you're telling me that you can't afford enough supplements, and you're narrowing me down to 3
3.
for everyone, irrespective of whatever.
If you want to break it down from age categories, you can do that too.
नहीं, वो बहुत specific. No, that might not be. Okay. So say for instance, if you are someone who eats enough fish, like you're a pescatarian, 3 to 4 times a week, you eat these fatty fishes, then you are someone who gets enough omega-3. Then my supplementation recommendation on an omega-3 might not be very radical.
Right.
But if you are not someone who does that, then 100% omega-3 would be one such supplement that I would make sure everybody consumes for so many reasons and so many benefits. Second would be making sure enough gut-friendly foods are there in your nutrition foundation, but to enhance the activity of that would be probiotics.
Okay.
So omega-3 and probiotics. I'm not going to count protein shakes under supplements, okay, because they come under food categories. So I'm not going to put them under a supplementation. And I think the third one would be That's very lifestyle based, but it's a very important supplement. It just needs to be introduced at the right time for the right person in the right dosage, and would be creatine. It's such a fantastic supplement to take, but people just don't understand how and when to take it. So I would not recommend going off the shelf and starting creatine tomorrow. There are some basic things that need to be corrected, but if you had the money, this is what I would
The
tell you
three.
to.
So that is
these are the-
omega-3 probiotics
Absolutely.
and creatine.
Yeah. Sorry if you didn't have the money. It's 3 seconds.
Now let's say we have all the money in
Oh,
the
you
world.
have all the money in the world. I
right?
love it. Okay.
What are the wealthy people taking?
You know, the wealthy people are doing that tip.
Ah,
The wealthy
right.
people are
but
doing
they
that.
also have the base, the foundation
No,
sorted.
not every wealthy person has their base corrected, right? So I have a lot of high profile clients that I work with, the CEO, business heads. Their profile is so stressful. They work crazy hours, but they try and make sure putting in these snack bite workouts, like 10-15 minute workouts spread in the day, 2-3 times in the day.
By high
Intensity snack bite workouts spread through the day. But they also, the food that I work on with them, like I told you, is more performance based. So these are people whose foundation I'm correcting. But when they came to me, they are like, I'm taking the urolithin A of the worlds, and I'm taking the NADs and the NMNs, but I feel very weak. I have no energy. So they are the people who are doing this tip of the pyramid, but are not getting the foundation right. So once they have their foundation right, the wealthy people are investing in these kind of supplements.
Name a few and explain that to me, because I haven't heard that.
So these are longevity-based supplements. Okay, it's called NAD, NMN, urolithin. So they are working at a very cellular, cognitive level for improved life. Like, you want to live longer, but you also want to live with focus. What is that one thing that every CEO or every business head is looking for? They want to be sharp. They still want to be sharp, productive,
making
efficient.
the most of their time.
Correct. They don't have all the time in the world to read through an article for 6 hours, and they don't have that kind of leisure to sit for lunch and continue it over 2 hours. I have had people standing and eating, and I had to tell them that we need to invest at least 8 minutes of your day to sit down. We need to get you a walking pad and a walking desk, so at least you're moving. These are the kind of small changes I get them to make, over and above making sure when you are a business head or a CEO, you have someone always catering to you. So the food needs to be placed, needs to reach your table. All you need to do is consume it. So there are people who are getting a lot of these other supplement benefits, which are more longevity based. At the same time, do work also on your basic nutrition and lifestyle changes, which makes the foundation of that pyramid. And that second part I was telling of accountability and self-motivation, once they get that foundation right and they see the difference, they are too motivated to go to that tip and then correct the entire pyramid.
Right. But isn't it a chicken and egg thing? Because all these high performers, all the CEOs and the athletes of the world, they already consume so much of their willpower in their training or in their office and stuff like that. When it comes to eating, or like eating right, of course, athletes have to, it's part of their job. But
Yes.
especially entrepreneurs and businessmen, would they often not prioritize that? Because
That's my job, to educate them and tell them you need to prioritize.
This is equally important.
This is important. And I have been very, very successful in doing that with whether it's a startup entrepreneur who's working 25 hours a day, or whether it is an established business head who's literally taking 15 meetings a day every 15 minutes. I have made sure I have caught that pulse of what they want to achieve and convinced them to follow a certain protocol with food. And then I don't just work with my business head. I am working with his entire ecosystem. Then I'm making sure the chefs are making what I'm telling them to make, and the guy is getting it served, and the trainer and I are in sync, and he has this conditioning training happening once a week, and making sure that whatever other recovery requirements are there, and whatever supplements from anywhere in the world are shipped or flown down to him at his table. So that is an ecosystem work that you have to do with these people.
Right. So the wealthy aren't just taking supplements; they are building a whole ecosystem around it.
Absolutely. And that is my job to get him or her to understand you got to build this ecosystem, or this is not going to be sustainable for you. Because you want to continue working like this. You're always going to work like this. You're always going to have 10 meetings lined up. So if I don't teach you how you need to build this surrounding for you, how are you going to execute it? Nobody's going to tell him that.
Right.
So as a nutritionist, I don't just make a diet. I make the personality of that person around food so strong that they can sustain it. And I take a lot of pride in saying that they just keep coming back to me. That trust is there, it is built, because once you see what nutrition can do to you, you will be shocked, King, the kind of effect nutrition has on your everyday activity. It's unmatchable with one pill. That pill can just enhance, but the foundation can just make you as a person.
So you'd mentioned that you work with different set of clients, from professional athletes to high performing individuals like CEOs and CFOs. How are they eating differently? What's the difference between a diet or a ecosystem that you build for a professional athlete different from what you build for a entrepreneur or for a businessman?
Yeah. That's a good question, because performance is not just for an athlete. Performance is also for your business heads and CEOs, but the quality of performance is different in both.
Right.
One is more physical performance oriented, one is more cognitive performance oriented. However, they both come under the umbrella of extreme stress. No, they have very stressful jobs.
Right.
The biggest difference between both these jobs is that your business head has a much longer life in that stressful job.
Right.
Your athlete has maybe a decade or a little over a decade to prove himself as an athlete in his job profile, right? So hence you are more radical in your approach with performance nutrition in an athlete, because you are radically working with them for those 10 years for recovery, for nutrition, for muscle, for body composition, for performance, everything. With a high net individual, or with someone who is running a big business, their performance needs to be more sustainable and long lasting.
Right.
So their cognition cannot be worked upon just for a few months. I need to make sure that over the next few decades and over, they have that same focus. They can deal with their stress. They can still recover. They can still have enough energy. And at the same time, physically, they are, tuned to their body. They are able to exercise. They are able to eat the right kind of food at the right time of the day. So while for a comparatively shorter period of time, with an athlete, we are very radical with zero room to cheat, because we just have that much time. That would be the biggest difference with a business head, because there we would play a little bit with freedom.
Right.
Like, let's take an 80-20
So that becomes more sustainable for them to continue that for a long
Exactly.
period
I
of time.
can't keep them on a strict diet all the time. There has to be a little breather. And that 80-20 rule is what I apply with a lot of my startup entrepreneurs, or people who are working crazy hours, or are traveling all over the world all the time, and business heads. I give them little room. However, my way of working is, my room is also little planned.
Okay.
Right? You just don't
So
wake
you
up.
cheat, but you cheat
plan
well.
it with me. Yeah,
Right.
you cheat well. You plan your cheat with me. If you have a stressful 1 month with few meetings, and you're planning a holiday to the Maldives for 5 days after that, I'm not leaving the leash for that month. I'll give you that leash for that 5 days. So, it's just a little bit more planned. It's more discussed. It's not just wake up and,
Do
yeah, I
whatever you
ate
want to
like
do. Right.
10 pieces of sushi today. No, it doesn't
Right.
work that way. We'll plan it.
Right.
And it works very well with them, because they come from a very disciplined environment in their head. That's why they do what they do, right?
Right.
So
Right.
because of that, it gets easy to hold them. It's just the trust building experience. Like, once they trust you, they will follow it. Or if you're just going to tell them, no, do not eat the sushi, you're not allowed
They
to
would
do it.
definitely not
It doesn't
listen to
work
you.
that way. Not with business heads. But I can do that with my athletes.
Right.
I can put my foot down and I can tell them, not
No
allowed.
means no,
No
yeah.
means no, it's not an option. And they would listen without any negotiation,
their career on
it's
stake.
their career on stake. So the blind faith comes with the trust building, and then you can literally help both of them excel in their performance for however long they want to perform.
Right. And are there any habits that these high performing athletes or entrepreneurs have that everyone, like all the listeners here, can adopt in their own lives, um, that would really enable them to be more efficient, be able to deal with stress better?
Yeah.
Any of those things that
So
you
I'll
see?
tell you, very honestly, when I started as a sports nutritionist, one of the things that always attracted me towards this field is I realized if I was working with an athlete, whenever I started working with an athlete, if he is here and I am here, he was halfway there already. It was not very difficult to convince that athlete to do anything. I just had to fill in my halfway and my convincing power, right? So these athletes, they are in their head so tuned themselves, they will do whatever it takes. They are already disciplined, they are already motivated, they are already ready to do whatever it takes and take charge of their life. They just need you to guide them.
Right.
And that's the same thing with business heads as well. So if that would be one word I would want to give any person who's listening to this podcast is come halfway there. It will make our jobs easier. A lot of time when people who want to lose weight, the biggest failure is when the wife says my husband needs to lose weight.
The husband is not saying that
He is
himself.
not interested. How? Forget halfway, he's not there in this equation. How am I going to give him any kind of success? So if the day you decide in your head you want to do this, but you don't know how to do this, I'm ready to fill that gap, but
Right.
come to me halfway.
Right. The first step towards change is to take notice.
Take notice, accept you need to make a change.
Okay.
So first accept what you need to do, and if you are ready to accept that, why just me? There are a lot of professionals ready to help you from the other end.
Right.
It just makes our job easier. It just makes the whole convincing easier. Again, another failure for a lot of people who want to achieve body transformation or who want to do that, they want to change the way they look, or they want to lose weight, or they want to have a certain kind of muscle structure. They can't visualize themselves with that body.
They don't know how good it will be.
Exactly. They've not experienced because they don't know how to. But B, they don't even know what will I look if I was 20 kgs lighter. How would I look?
How would I feel?
How would I feel? Can you even perceive yourself? If you are ready to do that, and if you have that perception, I'm ready to take all the steps from my end.
Right.
So accept, give yourself a perception, get some goals in your mind, and
Any practices that you can do to get to that halfway line to meet you there?
I have done that with so many of my athletes and so many of my simple clients who come to me for weight loss. I've sat them down and I've told them, I've had sessions which are nothing to do with diet, which are nothing to do, okay,
Just
what do you want to
counseling
change?
sessions.
It's literally just telling them, babe, tell me, how would you look if you were 20 kgs lighter? Kinita, I don't know. You need to visualize yourself, because if you're not going to do it, you're never going to reach it.
Maybe they
Because
can journal and
journaling helps, just imagining helps, just basic imagining. Look at yourself. You want that six-pack, imagine that six-pack on your body.
and envision how you will look into it, what kind of compliments you're getting.
What you're going
so
to
that getting that motivation
That was
strong.
my second part of that pyramid. That self-motivation is what I was talking about. You need to get that. The moment you'll have that character in you, and you know what? A lot of women post-pregnancy have it. That's why they make it back.
Right. They want to
into
get back
They
to-
want to get back. They have, no, Kinta, I was this just 1 year back.
But they knew how they looked, so
They could do that. But if you've never been there, if a guy has never had that six-pack, it's very difficult. I want to look like Ranveer Singh. Have you put those packs on you and seen how you're looking and how you will feel? Then I will tell you what will go into it.
Right.
And he will do it because he's motivated to do it. So that self-motivation is needed.
Great. We briefly, off the camera, spoke about different sports needing different kind of nutrition.
Nutrition.
And you mentioned that that's a niche
In the
within
niche.
a niche.
Correct.
Tell me more about that.
So today you will have someone like me. When I started sports nutrition, I was doing a lot of different sports. I was doing football, I was doing table tennis, I was working with lawn tennis. Cricket was one of those sports. But I myself realized my expertise inclined better and more towards cricket. So for example, today you have a lot of, I'll give an example of orthopedic because it just aligns more with my profession. If you go to someone just like that and you'll say, I have a back pain, he'll be like, but sorry, I only look at shoulders. Like, I'm sorry, but I only look at knee. So you have specialists in that specialist. You rarely have a generic orthopedic these days, right? So for me, nutrition has also become like that. In clinical nutrition, you have diabetologists, in clinical diabetic nutritionists, women who are only focusing on diabetes care, okay? But there are nutritionists who are working with varied sport and niche sport, and I like to say that I am the niche in the niche. I was always a niche, but I created my niche in cricket. Does not mean I don't know the other sports. It just means that I work more in this particular sport.
All right.
So, have I studied clinical nutrition? Absolutely. Do I know what is cancer nutrition? Hell yeah. Do I take a client with cancer? No. Because I have decided to not work in that space for a very long time. So if you spoke to me about it, I can have a very legit conversation with you. But if I had to use it in my practice, I'm using more performance driven nutrition in my practice, body transformation. I work as a metabolic reset. So I work with a lot of people who want to reverse pre-diabetes, who have insulin resistance, who have hormonal issues. I'm working with body transformation. I'm working with a lot of people who look at muscle and fat as their progression and not just weight on the scale. So that has been my journey. So in sports, yes, there is a niche. Internationally, globally, there will be nutritionists who only work with baseball teams, who only work with football teams. I like to work with cricket teams, and that's the niche I have created for myself.
So the kind of sport you're playing would determine the kind of nutrition
And that is why cancer patient cannot have a diet of a diabetologist and a diabetic diet, and cannot have a diet which is more, uric acid relevant. It's a disaster. What am I talking over here? So that similarly, the diet that I give to someone who is into cricket cannot be the same for someone who's playing a 90-minute football game. It's completely different. Completely different. So yeah, there is a niche in a niche. Globally, the niche is very welcomed. Here, they will take some time, but I'm pretty
that's
sure
developing.
it's in the process.
So now I would like to pick your brains on the future of healthcare and future of wellness. If we were doing this podcast again in 20 years, right, what would be completely different about healthcare? And you can go wild in terms of your imagination as well here.
So I'm thinking if I had to do this podcast 20 years back when I started, okay, to today, it's clearly completely different. So there is no shying away from the fact 20 years from now, it will be mind blowing.
Right.
I think the generation we are in, the speed at which we are growing, not just from content perspective, means science perspective, but also the whole biotechnology.
It's maddening.
It is mind blowing. I think we will be sitting on conversations where I am talking as a human to you about how I am using biotechnology to up my client's game.
Right.
And that's where I'm seeing 20 years from now. And I think people need to keep up. Like experts need to keep up. Nutritionists need to keep up. If they want to excel in this field, it is the future.
So, what would be the pillars of those transformation? Would it be wearables? Would it be like more precise testing, blood tests, and like what do you think will be the premise of that transformation?
No, that is narrowing it down a lot. I think it is going to be about a professional leveraging technology to improve their human touch with the client.
Okay.
Now, whatever that means for you as a professional. So, say I would tell my client, let's do a wearable which gives me backend data of your VO2 max, and at the same time, let's get this particular machine that is curating the right amount of protein for you and individualizing it for your need. But do you realize in everything that I'm talking, my human angle is not lost.
Of course.
I'm still consulting him on what that machine needs to give him.
So you'll have better assisting
Exactly.
technology.
So I will leverage a lot from technology to help my client get better for an eventual goal in whichever form it is. It could be from food engineering to soil engineering to increase vitamins in that microgreens that we are growing, to wearables, to fitness equipments, to not just testing but also helping in prevention, to DNA level changes. I don't know, it could be anything.
Right.
And it would be amazing.
So
But
you think wearables or such tests there would be a time when they would know more about a person than themselves?
100%, because those wearables are going to actually guide you. Today, we wear these wearables. They literally break down your sleep by the hour. Did you ever know that if you didn't wear it? So your technology definitely knows more than you. But who's reading that technology for you, and who's answering the questions that the technology is giving you the data on? And that is what the wearables are doing today. And they should continue to do it, and in fact fine tune it much, much more. The only thing is the human element of reading that data and then helping you figure your customized pathway is where the nutrition will come in play. So maybe my overall time that I'm investing into making a diet might come down. But my time I'm investing in analyzing my client would increase. But eventually, at the end of the day, what is the sole purpose? My client should get the goal.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. And that's how they will get the goal.
So what you mean to say in a nutshell is that 20 years from now, consultants and doctors will not become redundant. There would be a lot of play of AI, wearables, and other technologies, but that would just be as an assistance to what the consultants and experts do.
Trust me, you will be redundant if you don't keep up with this.
Right.
Because if you are going to be someone who's going to be like, oh no, human touch is important and I am needed for counseling and consulting, it's not going to help you.
Right.
The AI layer is, I feel it's inevitable and it should be welcoming. And I totally welcome it with both my arms wide open. We just have to figure where to draw the line with that AI as well, of how much of the data I want to use. So say for example, today, if I get a client who wants to be on a ketogenic diet, let's give it an example. 10 years back, I was sitting, putting those calculations, checking if I'm getting my carbohydrate, protein, fat, everything in place. Today, I write that diet, I punch it into my bot. I ask my bot, is this correct? It'll tell me, okay, plus minus here and there. But what I've punched in my bot is not a ready diet. I've punched a diet keeping my client's requirement in mind. But you see my efficiency, it's come down to 5 minutes. I know what is my carbs, proteins, fat, and all I need to do is then further customize it and then give it to my client for his results. So at this stage, if we are using AI, 20 years from now, it's going to be beyond brilliant. We just have to keep up.
Right. I had this silly idea. I was just picking my brains on this. And so let's say if you could stimulate taste, let's say of chocolate, of cake, of all the things that you love, and then
Stimulate means from fragrance.
I don't know, just a random idea. Stimulate it through maybe neurons or through fragrances. Firstly, would it be possible? And if that is possible, would it become another kind of addiction? Because so let's say I want to eat cake, right? And I shouldn't eat cake because I'm diabetic. But there is a way to stimulate that taste in my mind. Because there are variables that are working with your neurons now. I don't know if that would work on taste, but do you think we'll still need food for nutrients, or we could just stimulate that?
So I'll tell you what you're saying is already happening, right? I don't know if you follow football, but a few years back, during a football match, a very, very reputed football player took a sip, gargled, and threw.
Okay.
Okay, and they all sip, gargle, and spit. Sip, gargle, spit. The world went crazy. Like, what is going on? What are these guys doing? So, in nutrition, there's a science where this particular science was there where you do carb gargling. That means you have taken the fluid in your mouth, you have stimulated them through
So you've
the
got the
difference
taste.
that you've got the taste, you have got the stimulation that you have consumed something, and then you have spat it out and not take it in. So this is already existing. So it's called carb rinsing.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of people do carb rinsing, but the stimulation is happening at literally at this level.
Okay.
Only. You've not even consumed it. Forget diabetes, energy, digestion, sab gaya. Direct stimulation from mouth to brain.
No,
Then if-
wouldn't it taste? It wouldn't taste the same as. It would feel the same
It
as
does.
having a cake. Like, how would you
So
stimulate
no,
it?
so that what you're saying
Right.
is something that can definitely happen. So if you ask me, is it possible? I see it in near future. You can easily fire or stimulate your neurons to get a taste and feel happy about it that you have consumed it. How? I'm pretty sure someone out there is trying
We'll
it.
figure it out.
We'll figure it out, but it is not a very wired thought, that, oh my God, can something like be done? 100% it can be done. I know.
So, would you say that it's the taste is more psychological than biological? Is it? Is it more to do with your brain, the taste?
Taste is definitely to do with brain, okay? Because whatever you eat, the trigger comes from the brain. But there are people who don't care about taste, and there are people who will be like, you know what, I just eat because I have to survive, I have to perform, I don't care how it tastes, just put a piece of boiled chicken in front of me, I'm going to eat it. So that's a personality thing as well, how you approach taste. But there are people who have very gourmet taste buds,
Right.
and just like all your master chefs who can taste everything, right? So your taste is extremely directly in sync with your brain power.
Okay, so let's say that you get unlimited funding, and you have to solve one health problem for humanity. What would it be?
Oh wow. Couple of things. Okay. I think one is a more healthcare perspective.
Okay.
One would be that from a large public health nutrition, I feel we need to enhance our soil. See, because end product is food. Food is grown on land. The soil from where it's growing is the biggest problem today. Everything in your soil is an issue. I can get so much more vitamins, so much more minerals, so much more protein, so much more supplement, so much more nutrients in my end product of my food if my soil is correct. Honestly, I'm giving a very vague answer here, but if I had to run my brain wild, I would want injectable muscle.
Okay.
Like, I think muscle is the answer to everything today. If I can inject muscle in my body, I get what is it I'm lacking?
Right.
I get everything. I get metabolism, I get longevity, I get structure, I get form, I get size, I get power, I get
So
strength.
that's the cheat code. Muscle is that cheat code.
For me,
Right.
it's a strategy for everything, and it's a composition that can give you whatever you need, whether you want to reset your body, you want to live longer, you want to get the right tone, you want to get the right sculpt, you want to pump up your metabolism, you want to burn fat. You need muscle for everything. I would love an idea of injectable muscle. Like, we found out ideas of injecting out the fat.
Right.
Pretty sure we can do this.
For
So if
sure.
I had the money in the world, I would do that.
It's very interesting. Love the answer. So, okay, last part of the podcast. This is the rapid fire round, and I would state a statement about the future, and
Okay.
you have to answer if that is possible, yes, no, or too early to tell.
Okay.
Okay. Wearables that predict illness before symptoms.
Will they come or not, is your question. Yes.
Continuous glucose monitors for everyone.
No.
DNA based personalized diets.
No. Not needed. Don't waste time.
Okay. Gut microbiome testing as an annual health check.
I'll answer this in yes and no. I'm going to say no, but I want to answer this differently as well for your audience. Gut microbiome is such a broad testing that is happening today as well. A lot of people do it and they give you this. So in my profession, probably I would have seen a gut microbiome test maybe 3 or 4 times. It's not something that I naturally recommend people to do. And they also must have tested it because they went somewhere, got collaborated, an athlete did the test and they got it for me to review. And when I look at that and I'm looking at the bottom line of that test, I'm like, basically add more fiber and have more probiotics. So what's the whole point of this test?
What was the purpose?
What was the purpose? If you're going to go very, very niche in which particular strain you want, I still feel the data to validate this is lacking so much today that today I would definitely not go for any of these gut microbiome thing. In future, if you have enough validated studies and research and you do manage to convince me at least that yeah, you can do it, this strain is particular is going to help you, then I would say a yes, but definitely right now it would be a no.
Okay. Lab grown meat becoming mainstream. Supplements customized every month based on your blood work.
Yes.
Meals 3D printed specifically for your body needs.
Nice. Yes.
Neural stimulation to eliminate cravings.
Sure. Yes.
Pills replacing meals altogether. Longevity drugs extending healthy lifespan to 120 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Health span becoming more important than lifespan itself.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. It's a good motto to have. 100%. Live healthy. Don't live long. You need to live healthy in today's world.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What I loved about today's conversation is that it really wasn't about diets and calories. It was about understanding ourselves better. We spoke about food as fuel, health as an investment, and the exciting future of human performance. If our viewers take away just one thing from the podcast, I hope it's this. Every choice we make today is shaping the person we'll become tomorrow. So, thank you for helping us think differently about wellness, nutrition, and longevity. It's been a pleasure having Kinita on Face to Face.